Hey everyone, my name is Courtney Overmeyer, and I'm going to be talking to you guys today about the advantages and challenges of individual and cultural differences in the workplace. So, first of all, I think this can kind of be defined as obviously like nationalities blended and stuff like that, but I think it can also involve different states coming together. I think it should still be considered kind of a cultural difference just because I think people in Texas do stuff much differently than people in New York would do stuff. Examples like that. So for me, I'm going to kind of course, individual differences, but also cultural differences. I think that should be expanded to different states and just different areas in general. So, some advantages, let's talk about that first. Advantages, I think, include things like new perspectives. When you bring a group of people together and they're working together, you're going to have a ton of different perspectives and ideas, and new ideas just coming together and blending into something really cool and creative that people might not have considered before. So I think that's a big advantage. Another one is spiked creativity. So when you have all this brainstorming coming together and people of all different, you know, creative skills and mindsets, some really cool things can come out of this, such as different operations and different procedures. How does the chain of command for the paperwork, how does that, what steps do they go through, who's in charge, who calls meetings, whatever. It's all very, amped up. It can be done way different in different parts of everything and different people. And it can be much more efficient and productive. And then with products, the same thing. If someone's used to a certain type of product, they might not be as creative as someone that's been exposed to a lot of different kinds. And when they bring those two ideas together, you can come up with some really cool stuff. And then advancing the knowledge of local markets. So when you're going to a new, group or partnering with a new company, you can really bring in a lot of knowledge. You can learn a lot from these new people that you're interacting with, as well as you can bring a lot of knowledge to them. So if you're unfamiliar with this new place that you're partnering with, you can learn a lot about their local markets. And then the new people that you're working with, they might not know a lot about where you're from, and you can bring that in, educate them, and it's big, circle of education. And I think that's really cool for a company to be exposed to. And then new talent on your teams. So, there's, when you partner with different companies, they're going to have experts maybe that your company might not have had yet, or just at different levels. And this can be very, very, good, beneficial for your company to have this new level of expertise, of knowledge, of experience. And this can result into things like better training. If you have the knowledge, if you have the expertise, those being trained are going to be much better off having that, expertise to refer to. So that's going to be awesome for your company. And then higher standards. So what are your standards that you've normally been holding? When those new people come in, your standards might not cut it. They might be used to something much more professional, much more whatever you want to consider it, and that might be a hard pill to swallow at first, but ultimately that's going to drastically improve your company to kind of hold yourself at higher standards. And then, of course, the individual skills, the diversity between individual people. So that's not really including, or it's not focusing on the kind of more obvious blends of like nationalities or just different regions, but like in your community or in your company already, what are the skill sets of your individual people there already? And this can be really cool. The more people you have on a team, or the more options you have on a team, I guess, it can be very beneficial for your team. So if you have, one person, say, is the intellectual powerhouse, they might be really good at coming up with the research, or they might just be really smart, and they can, kind of be the powerhouse for generating some ideas, organization, whatever. And then you have the team driver. So they can be the ones that really motivate everyone to get their job done, you know, be involved, and just kind of do their best in the team and keep everything flowing good. And then the productive ones, if someone's really organized, someone that's always getting stuff done, maybe they're the ones that call the meeting and just make sure everyone's doing their jobs and they're being productive. That's going to be a very important person to have. And then the creative spark. You know, if you're brainstorming a bunch of ideas, this person might be really good at coming up with unique and individual products or ideas that the others might not be able to come up with if they're more, you know, by the book, or maybe they're just not good at that. But so having each of these pieces, kind of like that picture I have down there, if you bring all those pieces together, you can have a really well-functioning, productive, efficient team. And that's a major benefit of having that diversity in the groups. So then moving on to the challenges of individual and cultural differences. One thing that can kind of get in the way is at first when people interact with each other, they're kind of feeling each other out. They don't really know how other companies operate or how other teams go about carrying out their business. So they might be a little hesitant or shy to, you know, specifically in like brainstorming exercises or just anytime they have to come together and like speak their minds. They might be hesitant and shy to share those ideas and thoughts at first. Ideally, they would, you know, kind of work that out, get more comfortable with the people, and that would be fine. Another issue is feeling inferior. When you're in your company for so long, you kind of know where you stand. Everyone's familiar with like who's on top, who's, you know, just the order of how things go. They're familiar with the owners, the big guys, and then they know where they fit in among everyone else. And when you mix two companies, it can kind of be intimidating to feel out where you fit, and you know, you don't want to outspeak in front of someone that's clearly above you and stuff like that. So there's kind of those kind of go hand in hand, being kind of shy around people that you're not really sure how you fit in. And then the language barrier. This is probably the biggest one. Just if you don't speak the same language and you're relying purely on someone else to translate for you, it can kind of be a little risky just because someone else could, you know, not translate it exactly how you want it to be translated. Something very small detail could get lost in communication, and it can be very confusing, and it might, you know, motivate you to just not talk that much, which is obviously not good, and you want to be able to have that communication. I mean, you need that communication in a business. And then professional etiquette. So how do each of the parties, you know, carry about their business, what's considered appropriate, what's expected of each party, and then what is considered very rude, what do you want to avoid. Those are all things that you really, really, really need to research and practice and just completely familiarize yourself with before actually blending the two teams. And then difficulty blending different teams and their styles. So if you have one company that maybe they hold themselves to a standard of, okay, if we have this assignment or this project that we have to do in 2 weeks, we're going to get it done as soon as possible. That way we have kind of time to maybe work out any kinks or whatever, or just making sure that we have it done so people can prepare. And then if you get another group that they're used to doing it maybe a few days before, or just kind of waiting a little bit longer, if you try to make the two work together, the ones that normally wait might not see the purpose of doing it so far in advance, and there might be some conflict there. So that's something that would be a challenge, but it's definitely, none of these are, you know, something that you just can't work through. So yeah, these are some of the challenges, and definitely be aware of these before you blend the two parties. But ultimately, I do think that having individual and cultural differences in a workplace really is beneficial, and that's something that there's a lot of benefits that come from that. So really take advantage of that, but do make sure you do your research. Thank you guys.